Everybody, welcome back. Thank you for returning quickly. So I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Dr. Bates is a doctorally prepared adult psychiatric nurse practitioner. She's passionate about providing psychiatric care and has experience with adult psychiatric, geriatric, trauma, and addictions. She's provided psychiatric services, consultation, and medication management to clients in both civilian and military settings. Her experience includes working with the Office of Quality Improvement, Bureau of Primary Health Care for Health Resources and Service Administration, also known as HRSA. She is also the founder of Gift of Dreams Wellness and Consulting firm LLC in Maryland, which specializes in behavioral health management tailored to help patients to overcome obstacles and confidently plan for a better tomorrow. So please, let's all welcome Dr. Bates. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay. Hi. So this afternoon, I know right after this is dinner, so I'm gonna do my best to try to keep you motivated and enthused until we get to that time. But I wanna make sure that each of you take advantage of having me here and having the ability to ask questions of me while I'm here. We're gonna talk about something that's really near and dear to my heart, which is nursing beyond the bedside. The main goal is for me to talk to you about nurse entrepreneurship, but I wanna make sure that you realize that I wear several different hats. And please take advantage of the opportunity to ask me questions, get information, and learn, all right? So we're gonna actually start off, am I controlling this? Like, how do am I controlling this? You are. Okay, I wanna make sure. Yeah, so the objectives, of course, of this presentation is for you to be able to define nurse entrepreneurship, or nurse entrepreneur, or nursepreneur, and to discuss the basics of starting a private practice, which is what I own. But before we do that, I'm going to read something to you. So we're going to do a little activity. And with this activity, you're going to be able to think about your future. And why is that important? Visualize. Exactly. Exactly. I heard a lot of you talk about jobs. I heard a lot of you talk about your schooling and where you want to go. So it's important that not only do you visualize it, but you're also going to write it down. So that's what that piece of paper is all about. Don't look at it yet. Don't look at it yet. All right. So first, I want everyone to uncross your legs, put your feet flat on the floor. I'm a nurse practitioner, psychiatric, so you guys may be familiar with some of this stuff. What we're going to do is visualize yourself in about 5 to 10 years. All right. So I need you to close your eyes. Put down any papers for right now. And don't break your computer. Eyes closed? You're just going to be listening to my voice. All right. So with this exercise, I want you to dream as big as you possibly can. Please think about as many details as possible, and then when you are able to answer the questions, I want you to answer the questions appropriately. So I want you to first picture a relaxing scene and remain quiet for a few moments. Now you will imagine your life as you would like it to be 10 years from now. You're out of school. Now it is morning and you've just awakened. Eyes still closed, but what do you see in your mind's eye? Now you go to your closet to get dressed. You're visualizing. What do you see in your closet? What do you choose to wear to work that day? You're eating breakfast. What do you see? Now you're ready to leave for work. Where are you going? How do you get there? What type of car, truck, bike? How are you getting there? You arrived at your workplace. Who do you see there? And what are they doing? What are your feelings about the work you are doing? It is now lunchtime. What are you doing? How long do you take for lunch? Are you inside or are you outside? What are you eating? You are now at work and it's close to the end of the day. What are you doing and what time is it? You are now finished with work. Where are you going and how do you feel about the day you just visualized? You're headed home. Take a few minutes to think about that day you had. What were your most important thoughts and ideas during that time? Everyone, please open your eyes. Turn over your piece of paper. And I want you to take a few moments to answer these questions. Does everyone have a writing utensil? Who said no? Yes. Hey, you're destroying your palm now. Get back to your palm place. Just start answering the questions. Yeah. And who else needs an activity sheet? I think we have a couple more here. So the questions are, what were your most important feelings about the day? What type of work did you choose for yourself and why? Did I work with people, ideas, or things? Did I use interests, hobbies, skills that I am developing now? Did I work for someone or was I in charge of my own business? Was I satisfied with the job I chose and why or why not? Make sure you remember to dream as big as you want to. This is your thoughts. These are your thoughts, your dreams. Where do you see yourself? Everyone finished? No? Okay. Dream as big as you possibly can. Where do you see yourself?
Free.
Write it down. That's a good one. All right. It's hard to do this in this room because I expected you guys to be in a different setup. But turn to get in little groups of threes. And I want you to share your ideas. They're the reason behind this, you guys.
Oh my God. Okay, tell me. All right, so for the first I'm laughing because of the juxtaposition of common people. But I think it's what you make it like some administrations right now where may not be tasks and so sometimes you feel like you're working towards something that you feel like is not achievable. And our CEO is I really it is great aspiration. Right, leadership, absolutely. It just the common yeah.
Purpose of having it I had 2 or 3 She was sitting here, they left her. I think she's the kind of with the students and the doctor and took their break. So so she was on her break. She always had me, there'll be anything here.
some people are afraid not to talk to. When she gets tired, she told me she was not running. She's not running. It took her about a week to get on Facebook.
She hasn't been in some shit for a while.
So we're enjoying this experience, huh? Did you learn a lot about your neighbors? Your other classmates? How many people wanted to own your own business? 11. That's great that I'm here today then. How many people saw themselves driving fancy cars? That's right. Oh, you oh, that's even better. So that means you're making a lot of that. We're all making right.
Create like your own Uber and create like more focused houses. Not dressing.
How many people own their own home or condo? Did anybody write that down?
I didn't write it down.
So it was there. It was in your mind's eye. So how many people use skills and aptitudes that they're learning right now? You all, hopefully nursing is a part of this plan. How many people were happy? Everybody, welcome. Did I get all hands? Oh, maybe not all hands. What did you learn about yourself from this activity? And I actually want someone to actually answer that question. So if you're willing to speak,
Take a shot.
speak up.
My number one was I wrote word for word, feeling good about going to work, being down South High Beach and debt free. What I learned is I don't manage stress well, and I need to do it better and make sure it feels better when I go into wherever I work,
Right.
because it's rough. On top of all the stress from school and stuff, you have to learn that healthy medium wherever you are.
Right. That's true. talking about stress with psych mental health nurse practitioner and stress management. Anyone else?
I learned that my vision has not deviated for the past 14 years. It's been the same thing. Maybe it's gotten a little bit bigger, but the foundation of it has been the same. It doesn't change. It's very simple. Maybe it's gotten a little bit bigger. You know,
That Ford Focus and the driver?
right? A couple perks that I didn't think about before. But that's it. It hasn't.
So you're very focused. Are you accomplishing that vision?
Yes.
You're on the road to accomplishing. That's awesome. That's awesome. I had a hand over here, Grisha.
Hi.
Wait a minute. I said Grisha. You know what? Please forgive me. Please tell me your name because I don't know.
Hi, my name is Vicky.
Hi, Vicky.
And the important thing I learned is that I would love to have that equilibrium in between like family and work life. That is so important to me. So I was heading in to the office at 9 and leaving at 3:30. Pick my kids up. Yeah. That was right.
All right. And I'm sorry. Let me back up. Tell me your name. Brittany. Okay, that was Brittany. And oh hey, Shawnee.
Yes.
Okay. Oh hey, vacay. She has a list. Okay. Who else would like to share?
I'm Laura.
Laura.
I learned that absolutely everything that I do should be, everything I do within reason should be with that end vision in mind. And really it is. I mean, everything I've been doing for the last 5 years has been moving me toward goals that I have. So it's not going to be easy, but every little step makes a difference in getting me where I'm going to be.
All right. Lauren. Okay.
It made me realize, recently I've been toying with the idea of I've been trying to think about my future job, and I have kind of two paths ahead of me. I have one that's easier and in an established practice, and then I have another that's a lot riskier, but in a community that has no access to midwifery care. And when I see myself in 10 years, I see myself in the practice in that community.
Okay.
And so it's just making me realize I'm starting to deviate in that direction, and that's really where my heart is at.
That's really great to hear. You're following your heart now. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, my name's Nancy. I don't have a name tag on.
Okay.
As we're reflecting, I'm realizing I just turned 40 a week ago. And I'm realizing that when I do this visioning exercise, that when I was 30, I didn't have this kind of clarity. And I'm so much more clear now about the next 10 years and like what I want out of those. And that's great. Like, I feel like when I turned 30 professionally, I was still like, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Right. Well, actually, that's what started. So what do you want to be when you grow up? But I didn't want to use those words. That's what that is. I think.
Yeah.
Name, please.
My name is James.
Hi, James.
I think what I've learned, I feel like probably that I don't have a big fantasy goal. Like, I feel like I'm very simplistic, where I just want to help. It doesn't matter. Like, I feel full just to feel like I've helped somebody. So I feel kind of left out that I don't have like a chauffeur. A big yard or anything like that. But, I would like that. I would like those things. But I don't know. I mean, I had a small little model that I shared with you all that I wanted to do, with my own practice. But I think that's kind of a barrier right now, is because I have to have this supervisor position and all that. I think there's a lot of red tape right now, and so I think that's why I'm at.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that, the collaborating position portion, a little bit later. Who else had their hands up?
I learned that I won't be happy until I'm in charge.
What's good to know about yourself? I mean, that's very important to know. And I'm sorry, tell us your name. Kathy. Well, I knew your name, but I want to make sure everyone else knew who was speaking. Catherine was speaking.
I'm Kathy.
Cassie.
going off of what you were saying, I'm under 30, and when I was trying to come up with what my thoughts were, and I looked out the window, I couldn't see it. I had no idea where I'm going to be. I have no idea what I want to do. So when I went to my closet, I put on a suit and a jacket and pointy shoes, and I was in my office and had big windows, and I was in charge of something really great. I don't know what it was, but
whatever you do, you know you're gonna look good doing it. Exactly. You gotta have money to pay for that something pointy shoes. Right. But you know what? This is to help you get started, right? We all should be dreaming about our future. So as we dream, it doesn't stop with just this visualization exercise. Did anyone else have to say that before I move on? Okay.
You guys are gonna, this is gonna come so unexpected.
What's your name?
I'm Nancy.
What's your name?
Nancy.
Nancy, okay.
Okay, so I closed my eyes and I was in this office and I was looking out over my view out the window was Washington DC.
All right.
And I went to my closet and I put on that yellow dress that that girl from the newsroom had.
That's it.
And a few minutes later, my doorbell rang and my ride was there to take me to Capitol Hill to work on legislation.
All right.
And work on solving the issues that are affecting all of us.
Very
good.
Well, that's good.
They chose me because of my years of nursing experience. That was the only reason I got the job, was nursing experience.
Okay.
40 years.
How many years?
40.
40 years. Wow.
So, I think it was a joke to see what he would say. Well, that's further away than Alaska, but it's up to you. I'm in Utah.
Utah. Okay.
Yeah, well, we talked about where I would work when I was done, and he wants to go to Alaska and fish while I work. Yeah.
You can only fish certain times of the year there, so that can always be a nice vacation, right?
Yeah.
Right. No matter whatever is going on, you can always turn it into a positive. So, what did you learn about this exercise? Why did I have you do this? Right here, giving voice.
It's from the ACM.
Okay.
I'm sure because you have to have some direct, you have to have a dream to know where you're going. Like, I mean, anytime anyone asks me like what I want to do, I'm like, well, can I fill out my entrance essay? Because that's what I wrote.
Right.
Like, I want to do this because I want to work with this population and I know what the impact can be. That's what I was talking to them about. But I mean, my friend and I, we go back and forth and joke about this all the time, but I literally wrote down what we joke about because I'm like, that is my dream. That's what I want to do. We don't talk about it anymore.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very true. That's exactly. What did you want to say about this?
For me, like in order to really have goals, you gotta write them down and like pray over them. So I just think about the Bible verse, Habakkuk 2:3, I think.
But the vision is yet now. It's time. But at the end, it's just speak and not lie.
All right, y'all touching my heart in so many places. I'm telling y'all about how why that means so much to me in just a second. Go ahead.
That's it.
All right. So there was a couple of reasons why I wanted you to do this exercise. I mean, number one, I wanted you to personally visualize where you see yourself in the future. I wanted you to write it down so you can keep it for yourself because you're going to keep these. But more importantly, I wanted you to share it because even having your own business, you're never doing this in a silo.
Right.
Whether it's sharing information, talking about a patient and debriefing, you will always be talking to someone else. I was hoping, how many people talk to someone else in this room and realize I might want to partner with them in a business situation?
Right here.
I need a ride. We're gonna wear matching yellow dresses.
All right. And actually, there's someone in the room that wants to be the Surgeon General also. So, you know, there's always. Who's the current Surgeon General? Huh? Jerome Adams. Yes. That is actually my sister's husband and my boss. So, and we'll talk about that in a second too. But I just think that it's so important that when you're in a room full of people, you need to know who you're in the room with. What are their dreams? What are their goals? And what can we possibly partner together to accomplish? Because we don't all need to build it ourselves, right? Somebody might have already built it and might already have that model. And if we are constantly trying to do things by ourselves, we don't know what else is going on out in the world, in the universe. You guys come from all different walks of life, from across the country, right? So if I need a connection that's trying to make that policy, then it's good to know who's doing it, right? And where they're doing it. Are they working from their state in Utah, or are they in DC and Capitol Hill, and I just need to make a phone call, right? If I'm looking for a job and I'm moving to a particular place, well, why not pick up the phone and call Nina because she's in, Dr. Harris, because she's in Charlotte, Fort Mill area, Charlotte area. And we made the connection also involving, I'm also from South Carolina. So utilize all your resources. So keep the papers. You guys, I want to hear from you, and making sure your dreams are coming true. As we stated earlier, I am Dr. Mekeshia Bates. I am the owner of the Gift of Dreams Wellness and Consulting. Let's see if we can get my logo. How do you make this bigger? Or bring this down?
The 4 little arrows in the bottom. Go down there.
Come on up here. I'm here to talk. I can't concentrate.
Professionals can.
Okay, awesome. Right. So what I want you to see in my logo, we're actually gonna. Well, you know what? Don't even worry about it. Just if you can make that bigger so they can see the whole thing. Can we do that? I don't want to close anyone down who may be watching. And hi to anyone that's watching from afar. I'm sorry you could not take part in our exercise, but if you wanted, I will send you the questions. So just to tell you, and that's good enough. We'll wait until we get to the other thing. So just to give you my story, as I said, I'm Dr. Mekeshia Bates. I am a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I received my education at Case Western Reserve in Cleveland, Ohio, as I was telling someone in the very back. My story is a little bit different because I can't say that I was very patient in my education. I did my undergraduate degree at Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I started out in medical school. I will tell the story, part of that story. Started out in medical school, was hit by an 18-wheeler truck, ended up leaving medical school and trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and ended up in grad school in Ohio. After the accident, I honestly had no idea what was going to happen with me because I just wanted to be a doctor. That's all I knew. However, God gave me a second chance, and I went to grad school in Ohio. And started out just wanted to be a nurse. I was going to save the world. I just wanted to become an RN, go to a third world country and dig ditches and make sure everyone was healthy. But there was another plan for my life. And with that plan, I started graduate school in Ohio in 2005, August of 2005. Between August of 2005 and January of 2010, I had finished all my coursework, had completed my my dissertation and presented, and I received all of my degrees. So I received an RN, an MSN, an MPH, Master's in Public Health, along with a doctorate in nursing practice between August 2005 and January 2010. So a young lady asked me about getting degrees and working on multiple degrees at one time. I could never tell anyone not to do it because I did it. But you have to know yourself, you have to know your passion, and you have to be willing to work for it. It's never going to be easy, right? No matter what you decide to do. Upon completing those degrees, actually 2009, I was the first nurse that was accepted into the Cleveland VA National Quality Scholars Fellows Program. It is a program that started out of Dartmouth, Cleveland, Dartmouth, Vanderbilt, schools were with us. There was a couple more schools. We had fellows throughout the United States that was working on quality improvement issues. I heard you guys worked with IHI. We were a part of that also and did that. I ended up, started there receiving my yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma, moved on. I've since then received my green belt, and I am now a black belt in Lean Six Sigma quality improvement. U.S. Public Health Service Commission course. So upon finishing that fellowship, I accepted a position in Maryland at Fort Belvoir Community Hospital, became a commission corps officer. That's why I say the Surgeon General is my boss. I work under him, Surgeon General Adams. And I am currently stationed in Rockville, Maryland at Health Resource Service Administration, working in the Office of Quality Improvement, where I do medical malpractice. Business owner. When I left Fort Belvoir, my clients played a huge role in this because they said, Dr. Bates, how can I continue to see you? And I said, you're not. But when you develop those relationships and you see that you're helping people, and actually when those clients are telling you you're missing out on your calling, it makes it hard to just stop seeing clients. So when I moved to HRSA and I started doing more admin work, the other part of me was, it was time to open Gift of Dreams Wellness and Consulting. If you look, and I'll show this a little bit more. If you look, this is my logo. And in that box, it says GOD. Gift of Dreams Wellness and Consulting came to me because of my spirituality. And I said it was a gift from God. Because being able to see clients and work on my own, I'm able to sow into them. I'm able to reach out to them. We can talk about whatever they want to talk about. And I don't involve insurance, third-party billing. And we'll talk about that a little bit more and why that's important. And lastly, as of August of last year, I am a seminary student at Virginia Union University. Now, people ask me, what in the world? But just like Gift of Dreams was given to me, I feel like there's a calling on my life to do more. And what was missing was the spirituality aspect of that. So I have started seminary and I'm working on my master's in divinity. So what is a nurse entrepreneur? I want to hear from you guys. I have definitions up here. But what does that mean to you? Tell me your name.
I'm sorry,
Amina.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
A nurse that takes her, that does a business outside of nursing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be using her nursing knowledge or it cannot be, but pretty much just does something business related.
All right. Anyone else? Any nursepreneurs already here? Are you a nursepreneur?
Lactation. I do lactation. I started like breastfeeding.
Yeah, I know what lactation means, but I'm looking at you. What do you mean you started lactation?
So like, as a nurse, like I started a private lactation business.
There we go.
Because I was seeing that the help available at the hospital is not adequate, and I wanted to make myself as affordable as possible to reach the people that didn't have access to that. The good service at the hospital.
Right. All right. Any other nursepreneurs?
I do a lot of things actually, but it's more like just kind of comprehensive maternal health care services outside of the hospital. So if moms have had a traumatic birth, I will help them kind of process that experience. Midst of many other certifications, I became a life coach as well.
Right.
So just trying to help them understand why this is bothering you so much and work through whatever it was they experienced.
Right.
But because I'm already a labor delivery nurse, I can kind of put some of those pieces together for them and help them understand, okay, this choice was made maybe because of that, just that.
That's awesome. So shout out to the business owner. Right? But it's so important that we all realize that we do not have to ever settle for doing just one thing in life. Just like you had dreams, and that's why I said dream as big as you want to dream about this, because you're in school now, you're getting whatever specific degree you're getting, you're working in what specific area you're working in, but it doesn't mean that you are put in that box and you have to stay in that box for the rest of your life, right? I think that it's always so important to point out to everyone, I wear so many different hats, and sometimes I'm ashamed, and we talked about shame a little bit earlier in the discussion, but I'm ashamed sometimes to tell people that I have a doctorate and 2 masters and I'm working in a 3rd. I'm ashamed to tell people, well, yeah, I run over here and I'm a commissioned car officer, but I also own my own business, and then on Friday and Saturdays, I'm in class. Because that's too much for a lot of people. How do you do all that? And they say, aren't you tired? I mean, I honestly have people who have what I thought were, they're sitting on they're like my dream job, they're like Surgeon General. They're like, how do you do all that? So I don't share everything with everybody. It's not everybody's ready for all that stuff. But I wanted to share it with you guys because I wanted you to all realize and know, never, as they said, never put baby in a corner, never put yourselves in a box, right? That was from that movie, Dirty Dancing. Never put yourself in a box, and never let anyone else put you in a box. When they are telling you, or whomever it may be, you need to just stop and do one thing. Say, okay, then, sure, and then go do what you want to do. So the definitions that we have are nurses that use their professional nursing experience, training, and education to start their own business in the healthcare industry. And my personal one was nurse willing to identify a problem and use their training and expertise to create a business to provide a service to a specific target population. So the reason why that definition is so important, the second one, where you're creating a business to you've identified a problem, you're solving that problem, you are solving it, right? Because we are nurses and we're always thinking out of the box and we're always doing things around another way from which it was written. But are we writing the policy that says that? You know, are we starting these businesses to fit the needs that we see in our communities? And I say with the target population because somebody got to be willing to buy your product, right? If you make it and no one wants your services or your product, is it any good? Because you're just gonna have a lot of product that you're sitting on and a lot of money wasted that you did, right? A lot of wasted money that you put into making that product. So it's not always true if you build it, they will come. You have to do, have you noticed on each one of these slides, I have my logo? Did you notice, and I'm sure you noticed this, the person you guys saw this morning with the braided hair who was trying to fade into the background, sometimes y'all wouldn't let me, where's Miss Rosina? She wouldn't let me back. Versus the person that's standing before you. Every time I step out and I open my mouth as Dr. Mekeshia Bates, especially when I'm talking about Gift of Dreams, I am this business. I am my brand, I am my logo, and I have to be professional. I have to create the relationships, I have to do the networking, and I have to, people may not always remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel, right? Was she inviting? Did we like her? Was she boring? As a part of my business, and let's go for that. Here we go. Let's talk about this for a second. I know y'all all want to hear about this. Oh, where did you put it? Because I was like, will it work? We opened it on another, that one. All right. So this is my website, and you can see the logo better there. Gift of Dreams, Wellness and Consulting, and the G-O-D there, that's where Gift of Dreams comes from. Anybody who says they want to be able to get in contact with me, go to this website. I told you, I promised everybody you'd have my contact information. It's here. But I want you to notice this stuff. On the website, I'm telling the clients what they get. Realizing you have problems you can't solve on your own, that's why I'm here. They want to know about who I am and what I do. So this is who I am. Another thing, what are my services? So I share what I'm able to help with. Individual counseling, couples counseling, psychopharmacology, medication consultation. But more than that, I'm out in the community. So I'm there for the health fairs. I'm there for the panels. I'm there when universities call me and businesses call me and want to speak. And you need someone to talk about positive decision making. I'm there for you. So when I'm sharing these things with you guys, I want to make sure that I'm not just sharing it just because. This is who I am. And it's a service that I have been blessed with by being fortunate enough to go to school, graduate school, coming from South Carolina, moving all around these days. But it's something that I want to give back to each and every person that I come into contact with. And for the people who were talking about telemental health, Telepsych is coming soon. Yes. One of the other things that people always want to know about is how do they pay for this stuff? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but I don't accept insurance in my business. I'm going to tell you why. one of the hats that I wear is I'm a commissioned corps officer. When I first started looking into opening my own business, because it took some research and I started asking people, they said, well, if you accept TRICARE, you're double dipping and you can't double dip. Well, but these patients said they want to see me. So I couldn't charge insurance. I mean, I couldn't get involved with insurance. What I had to do was look at what was happening in the communities. What did my patients need? Who else was doing what I was doing? So do the research. Find out, is there a need for whatever service you want to provide, and be willing to fill that need. I do what I call concierge care. Just like I tell you, you guys can get in touch with me using that. I have an Instagram page, I have a Twitter page. I have, of course, the phone. My clients know that they can contact me anytime, day or night. They know that between this hour and this hour, I may be handling commission court business. So I may not return your call as quickly. But if you email me, I will email you back within 45 minutes to an hour. What does that do for them? They know I'm available, right? They know that they can always reach me. And that makes them feel safe. If I have a client who has an issue with driving and they start having panic attacks and anxiety attacks, well, let me know what time you're getting on the road and we'll arrange where I'll talk you through it. That's why for my concierge services, my fees are a little bit higher, right? I don't accept insurance. So those are my fees. And it's on the website. So there's no question about, well, how much is she charging? It's there. I also provide resources for them. So you can go to the page, click on any of the associations and institutes, and find out information. One of the other things is I have 2 locations. Location. I have 2 different locations in 2 different counties in Maryland. Chevy Chase location is in Montgomery County. The Upper Marlboro location is in the Prince George's County. Yeah, look. So what did that do for me? Number one, I'm providing a service. I want to reach as many people as I possibly can. Montgomery County is near a metro stop. Upper Marlboro is not, but Upper Marlboro is a more serene area. So for those clients who, a lot of my clients like to, and I do this on purpose, I space out appointments so they never see each other. They like confidentiality. They do not want to pass someone they may know walking in or out of my office because she does mental health. And we know the stigma that's still associated with that. Also, I have included the certifications and organizations in which I am affiliated. I think I shared this earlier with you guys. I am licensed in Ohio, Maryland, and DC. And I'll share with you a little bit later why that's important. How do we get back to where we were?
Yeah, big blue button.
Here? No? Big blue thing. It said big blue button. Yeah. All right. So what do you need to become a nursepreneur? You need your nursing license, right? Finishing school. Prior professional nursing experience in the area of specialty. Mine personally was psych mental health. So everything that I've been doing has been related to psych mental health. Did I have a business background? No. But was I willing to learn? Yes. Am I still willing to learn? Yes. Do I talk to other people who have been successful with this? Yes. Networking, making sure that you keep an open mind and sometimes keeping a closed mouth and willing to listen is so very important, right? Every time you step out, when you are trying to be a nursepreneur, as I said before, you are representing your business. What are you leaving? What impression are you leaving the people with, right? Basic business skills and knowledge. So accounting, marketing, management. You have to, if you don't know already, you learn about what logo will you have? How are you going to market yourself? Where are you marketing yourself? What are you doing to create those interactions? Good communication skills. Standing up in here, We talked earlier about some public speaking. It is so important to be able to step out of your introvertness, because believe it or not, I am truly an introvert. You never know it. I'm good at taking introvertness. I'm an ambivert. So that means that I try to cross both worlds, right? I do what I have to do. Ability to work independently. And when I say that, I mean, sometimes when you're starting your business, you're up late at night, early morning, you're answering all calls, you're accounting, you're marketing, your management, you're doing it all. And lastly, the willingness to take a personal financial risk on yourselves. You are not going to turn a profit. Well, you may, but I know I didn't turn a profit in the first year of having your own business, because you are investing a lot of money. Say it again. You're investing a lot of money. So we talked about a little bit of this. So when you're starting your own private practice or you're starting your own business, you need a business name. What are you going to call it? You need to make sure no one else has that business name. Getting opinions of others. What do they think about the business name? How would they respond when they saw that business? Business logo. You need something that represents you. Gift of dreams, as I said, the open hands. I actually had some help. I went back to a childhood friend who had known me forever. I asked him, these are my favorite colors. What can you come up with? And I think he did me pretty well, you know? Someone asked, yes, green is my power color. You see it sitting on top. So my other favorite colors are purple and pink. So when you see me out and presenting, you'll notice the slides, and you'll notice that I wear my logo colors. I talked about location already. We've been to the website. You've been able to see that. Business banking account. Separate your personal and your business. Always separate your personal and your business. You're going to need office supplies. Some things like, I'm like, how am I going to write these prescriptions? Being able, knowing how to go online, getting your office supplies, getting the things you need, your equipment. Are you doing a virtual office? Are you subleasing from someone else? All those things are things that you have to think about that you may not have given a lot of thought to, but it's important. And then you need the equipment in order to handle your business, whatever it may be. The legal issues, I talked about a name. Are you an LLC? Are you an S corp? What do you want to do? Sole proprietorship? Because what you decide to do with those legalities affects your taxes and how you file those taxes. So you have to think about those things. You need your federal employee ID number, that 9-digit number assigned by the IRS. Now I will say, and then of course you have to register your business name. These three, once you have that name and you have a location with a mailing address, it took me approximately, and I did all this myself. So, okay, I put legal things down there. I am one of those people where I do it all. Meaning, I created the business structure. I filed for my federal ID number. I registered my business name. It took me approximately on a Sunday, about 4 hours to get it all done, because I had my name, I had my logo, I had my location, I had my mailing address, and I had my banking account number. Is it hard? Now that Sunday was 6 months in the making. I had to get all those other things lined up before I could go in and do that. And then for me, we're going to talk about agreement with the collaborating physician in a second. You need to know what are all the legal things that you need to take care of. And if you have to have a collaborating physician, make sure that there's an agreement that is beneficial to both parties when you have it. In writing. Right. In writing. Now, collaborating physician. Happiest times of my life, May 2015. Maryland allows nurse practitioners to practice independently independently of a physician. Why was that important to me?
Money.
Right, right. Exactly. So I share with you guys that I am licensed in DC and in Maryland and in Ohio.
Gotta have physicians there.
Where?
In Ohio.
In Ohio, right. So I moved. So while I was in school, I studied this fancy dancy map. Right? That comes from the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. It tells me where I can practice independently. At that time, the hottest thing on the market to me was DC. I knew I was going to DC, right? What's stopping me? I'm going to DC. And I get to DC, and of course, that's one of the reasons why when I accepted my position in the Commission Corps, I was like, okay, this area looks great. I can practice on my own in DC. And even being in the uniformed services, you don't need all those licenses that I have. You don't need one. You can have a license from anywhere to be an officer in practice. But that was part of having the vision and knowing where you're going, right? You start early, you have to start thinking about these things. So Kentucky, I think, is yellow right now. No, y'all red. Y'all are red. Restricted practice. But depends, yellow? Yeah, you are yellow. And see, I knew this one would work. So you can go to the website of the American Association of Nurse Practitioners, and you can click on the state, and you can find out what's going on where you are. That's Tennessee. There's Kentucky. All right, and zoom in and find all that great information. I wanted to make sure you saw this because you need to stay up on what's going on with your state. I think we sort of talked about this a little bit outside, but each state has its own regulations and its own policies and rules. You need to know what's going on. Are there changes that are being made? I mentioned DC. So DC, no, you did not need a collaborating physician. At the time, Maryland did. So when I first started working there, of course I had that agreement, but I could not wait until the moment when I no longer needed it. I purposely waited to start my own business when I didn't need that collaborating physician, right? For business purposes, I'm giving nobody my money. I mean, that's how I thought anyway. But I had already made the relationships and the ties, and people knew me in the area. So when I went to create Gift of Dreams, then I had an idea of what that would look like. Okay, I switched back correctly. Now how do I move it? Just to the next, or back to the previous slide. There we go. Thank you. So in reading this, I just want to make sure I point out one great thing to you. So when this was signed, Maryland became the 21st state in the union to allow nurse practitioners to practice independently, and they were following Nebraska, which had enacted similar laws, and Minnesota. But more importantly, in addition to being free of collaborative agreements, an independent nurse practitioner would be able to open his or her own clinic. What? That went up. I was like, yay! And some nurse practitioners have to make payments to doctors to form a collaborative agreement. They are really taking our money sometimes. So when I say, yeah, I was lucky enough when I worked for the practice that I did work for, in which I had a collaborative agreement. They were not I did not have to pay them, but they were making a lot of money off of me at that time. I was working really hard. I was seeing 40 patients a day, like all over. Yeah, but I got a lot of experience out of that, and I learned a lot of great lessons. Lesson number one: when you're having an agreement with anyone, get it in writing. Make sure you outline it very quickly, right? And make sure you and that person sign off on it. All right, so you know you need your nursing license, nursing practitioner license. I can say for the first license that I actually had was the Maryland license, because I got that when I was working with the physicians that I was working with, and their office actually paid for all of that for me. When I did DC, I had to do it myself. Think about it. You're just filing paperwork and you're paying them. They have now changed it though, where they do want copies of CEs, and they've gone to this new system as of this year, or they want to see copies of the documentation that you have, the CDs that are required. So make sure that you're paying attention to that regarding all of your licenses. You need your business license. That was another thing that I did on that Sunday in which I accomplished all of this stuff, making sure you get that business license. Your DEA, your Drug Enforcement Administration license, and your CDS, those are two important ones because you have to be able to write prescriptions, of course. And when you're thinking about that, you want to make sure that you have the information that you need. Actually just remembered, I left out MPI, but I never had to do, I did my MPI when I was a student, and it just followed me. That is a number that you have to get through CMS and working with that. So if you have any questions about all of these, please make sure you contact me. And the last thing with this one is registering with the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. Since the opioid issue started, there has been a number of rules and regulations to monitor people who are getting certain prescriptions, opioids, benzos, things of that nature. So you have to make sure that you are registered with the Prescription Drug Monitoring Program. When you write prescriptions, they are monitoring them. So I encourage everyone to be careful. We do not want anyone to lose their license because they're writing prescriptions for certain drugs, or it's whether it's omitted consciously or not, or just because they missed a rule or something, that you are being monitored by the federal government related to this. All right, the financial side of it. We sort of mentioned this, the accounting. Are you going to accept insurance or are you not going to accept insurance? How many people are coming into your office? How many patients do you need to see in order to make the amount of money to afford that driver? Those are things that you have to be aware of. Yes, ma'am.
Can you do both?
Can you do what?
Like accept some insurances, but have the option for people to just self-pay.
You can do both. Of course, it's your business. You can decide how you want to do it. I am actually toying with the idea of accepting insurance at one practice and not at the other. So you can set up your structure any way you want to set it up. But make sure that you are aware of the rules of that insurance company, know how much they're paying, because you're running this business, or at least hire staff who knows the rules. All right. So if you have office staff, make sure they are aware of that. Your insurances. Even I'm sure all of you as nurses have medical malpractice or have malpractice insurance, correct? If you don't, please get it. If you work for a business right there now that tells you that they will protect you, say it louder.
They will protect themselves.
Right. I shared with you guys that I work at HRSA in medical malpractice. The number of cases that I see where doctors and facilities have hired wonderful attorneys for the physicians, wonderful attorneys for the dentists. Guess who always takes the fall? Nurses. Right.
They do the same thing to entities.
Are they doing
the entities that are taking the, they're not getting the better attorney?
It's not, well, they're not represented. Yeah. Make sure you have your own insurance. And I say I work for HRSA, so it's FQHCs that, I'm seeing that's coming through with this. But whether you're in private practice or not, make sure you have your own insurance. And especially if you are opening up a practice for yourself, have the insurance to protect yourself. And you definitely need the insurance and a certain policy limits if you are becoming involved with insurance companies. So that's another thing. You have business taxes to pay. You can. Or if you don't worry about it, she said hire an accountant. You can. How many times have you found out that accountants have not paid the taxes, or you've seen people who make millions of dollars end up in jail because of tax fraud? Right? You can always hire someone, but if you hire someone, make sure you're watching. Watch your money. It's yours. And then insurance panels. That goes back to what we were just talking about. Decide what insurance panels you want to be on. If you decide to go that route versus having them pay for the service themselves, you need to know about copays, right? You need to know about actually billing. Someone, I heard them talking about billing a little bit earlier, and someone said, well, if you file the information correctly and do it correctly, then you can make just as much money. And that is true. I think, was it you that said to make that statement? We were talking, there was a conversation about The number of patients you see versus billing. So if you want to see less patients, then make sure when you're completing your note, you're hitting everything that the insurance company wants to bill at a higher rate. All right? And I'm just giving you guys the basics, but if you ever want to hear more about this, of course, I am willing to talk to you about it. Marketing and advertising. We've talked about this a bit. How are you marketing yourself? So visit business cards, the website, using things like Psychology Today, community events. I'm at every health fair. I'm at every panel. In school, I'm telling every person that will listen about why they need to think about mental health. And I'm the person teaching about it. I'm always the person teaching. And social media. How many of you guys are branding yourself and marketing yourself on social media? Right? Not your personal social media page, but branding and marketing yourself on social media. You guys all have social media accounts? Awesome. How many people have social media accounts? All right. Oh, all right. I will say this about social media. Social media can be a wonderful tool if used correctly. I will also warn you guys about things that you place on social media. No matter how innocent it may seem to you, in the hands of the wrong person, you could end up fired from your job. And everybody's seen that happen multiple times recently, right? I have social media accounts for Gift of Dreams. I only use it for those purposes for the business. I am also, as a commissioned court officer, there are certain issues that I don't speak on. Politics, I never speak on. Never. Number one, President of the United States is the chief, commanding chief. So I don't speak on anything related to that. If it's something personal or my personal thoughts, you either hear it comes out of my mouth, but you will never see it on social media. You know, I won't even put it on the phone these days. It's a paranoia, cultural paranoia. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of social media. How many of you guys said you have social media accounts? All of you should be following Gift of Dreams Wellness and Consulting. Get right to it. All right. So with finding your niche, I said earlier that I am doing a lot of different things. One of the things that I decided when I went into private practice, being that I already have what I call my day job as commissioned court officer, I purposely did not accept insurance because with insurance, you have a different type of client that you're seeing. And you really cannot say, I'm sorry, but I can't see that client, or I'm already booked and I can't see any more clients. Having my practice the way I do with concierge service, it gives me a lot of freedom, right? But I also wanted to make sure that I was touching the lives of the people that I wanted to touch. Gift of Dreams, I make sure that everyone who speaks to me knows that I do spiritually based counseling. Meaning that when it comes to coping skills, when it comes to things of that nature, you may receive scripture, right? When I say I will pray for you, I mean it. And I also make sure that every person knows that their provider is in divinity school. I am a nurse that truly believes in holistic care. And when taking care of people, their spirituality matters to me. It needs to be addressed. What do you believe in? And if you see me and you don't, if you're atheist and you have no beliefs, I understand that and I respect that. But because of who I am and the things that sometimes come out of my mouth, when I say I will be praying for you, I will be praying for you. So I just make sure that people know that. Having your one more thing about specialization. I have spoken to some people about things that mean something to me. So when we are talking about women's health I'm very passionate about in a very specific sense, because I will say that there is a mental health component to every specialty. Every day in our lives, we have stress, we have anxiety, there are things going on, people are grieving. But with mental health, with women's health, there are times when things are not talked about. We're starting to hear more about postpartum depression because you have people like Serena Williams who are speaking about it. But what about the number of women who are having fertility issues, who are depressed and grieving because they've gone through the fertility process? They have hormones pumping through their body, but they don't have a baby to show for it. Or they lost the baby. Or yes, what about those women who have grieved and wanted to
Mother's Day
every single year? Yep. Mother's Day, other holidays, Christmas when there's children. Do you guys know? I've watched television some days. I had a furry baby, and I never will forget this because almost every commercial that comes on television has a furry baby or a baby in that commercial. So do you know what that does to someone who is just regularly watching TV for it to hit me? And that population, they need someone to talk to. I hate it some days when I get a call about someone who was just pregnant and either the baby died or they're suffering from postpartum depression and they don't know what to do. And I say I hate it because at one point, it was like one of the hardest calls to get because I'm like, I got to get them in the office. I got to immediately get them in the office and make sure they get what they need. But I took it a step further and I realized that there are specific certifications that you can receive. And so I took it upon myself to be one of a few African American women who are trained in, what is it?
Postpartum depression training.
Well, it's right. Well, it's postpartum depression, but it's peripartum mood disorders. So it addresses the anxiety and the mood disorders related steps. In addition, of course, with my military background, I get clients who suffer from PTSD. But PTSD doesn't have to come from just military. It can come from living in communities in which there's gun violence, there's violence in general. There are other things going on. You got a question?
I do actually. So when you're dealing with these populations, and they can't afford your sticker price, what do you do then?
So you can do a couple things. Do they have insurance? See, because that's one of my first questions. Do you have insurance? If you don't have insurance, then I make sure you know the fees. If there's a question about, I still want to see you, then we can discuss it. It depends.
But if you don't accept insurance, then how can they see you?
They pay out of their pocket. Sliding scale is the answer.
So you do sliding scale. Okay.
Yeah, sliding scale is the answer.
But you don't market it that way.
Of course I don't market it that way. Of course I would, right. And addressing the needs of the community, that is where, so another niche, another specialty that I had in starting divinity school is I am focusing on pastoral care, but I am not focusing on pastoral care for the congregations. My focus is on the leadership in these churches, because who is the pastor, the deacon, the head of the deaconess board, the ushers? Who are they? Who are these leaders speaking to? Who are they all talking to? Because as the congregation is calling on the pastor, right? And you have a lot of, the research is showing that there has been an increase in mental health disorders in the leadership in churches. And I'm specifically talking about the pastors. There's been an increase in the number of suicides. There's also been an increase in the number of healthcare issues they're having. They are falling dead in the pulpit or in their offices. It's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress associated with it. So when I say marketing yourself, in every class that I'm in, and they're used to it now. Oh, Mekeshia's the mental health provider. I even have my professors who will start conversations, and we always talk about the mental health aspect of everything that we do. So utilize all your skills. Everything that you're learning here in nursing school, use it. Because it will come back and you will have what you need. I just want to give you a number of resources. We talked about the American Association of Nurse Practitioners. I didn't talk about the American Psychiatric Nurses Association, but that is another association that I'm affiliated with. The National Nurses and Business Association is great, and also the American Organization of Nurse Executives. There are others out there. I mentioned earlier because there was a question about what can you do as nurses right now to make sure that your voice is heard when it comes to politics. So there's a couple things that you can do. Invest in your organizations that have lobbyists. Write letters, make phone calls. Remember that the policies for nurses are state policies, all right? So do you know who your representatives are? Who do you know who's actually compassionate for nursing? Who will be helpful? Who do we want on our side? So when you're voting, when you're taking time to do other things, please make sure you keep those things in mind. Right? Get involved if you can, but I understand if you're students and you're working hard, it's sometimes hard, but be willing to write those letters, make those phone calls, and vote. Now, what else would you like to know? Oh, wow, I thought I had answered every question. Yes, ma'am. Tell me your name again.
My name is Temperance. Where do you get the business knowledge?
Research. You get the business knowledge by seeing people who are doing what you want to do, or people who are doing similar things, and you listen. You ask questions. You get on the web and you start researching, or you schedule meetings with people like myself, and you say, "I want to talk to you about how you started the business."
You come to diversity impact.
Oh, to come to diversity impact, right? You get this for totally for free. Yes, ma'am.
I was gonna say, the small business, SBA, they have free, it's called score.org. Score.org.
I did use
They
it.
offer free business through the SBA, free business advice, and they'll also connect you with a mentor to help start your business. And you're just, score.org will pull up a list of mentors in your states.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to comment about the insurance. There's a growing movement of primary care primary care practices that don't deal with insurance. That doesn't mean that the patient has to pay though. They pay initially, but then you provide the codes for them to get reimbursed directly. So if they have coverage, it just removes it decreases your overhead. It removes all that stuff. And it allows you to offer services at a lower price also.
Dr. Harris, say it one more time.
So if the patient has insurance, they have, like if their insurance covers psych, counseling and so forth, just because she doesn't accept insurance doesn't mean that the patient can't get reimbursed.
They can file their own insurance. That's
So
what
they
I'm
can
saying.
turn your bill into their.
Right.
I do that with my dentist. I get a full check for our dentist, our annual or 6-month cleanings. They print out the form for me, give it to me, and I mail it in. I get a check for the whole price.
And some people do have, what's the account called?
Right, that too.
The health spending account. They're saying HSA. Yes, ma'am. Okay, go ahead.
Do you recommend hiring like a business attorney to do the LLC, the filing of the EIN number, all that stuff? Or do you use something like LegalZoom and do it yourself?
So that's a very great question.
I mean, neither one would be any more beneficial than the other necessarily because it gets the job done.
Right.
Is there less risk for you personally when you're developing a business if you choose an attorney?
I think you should. So I'm very, and let me say this. When I say I do this on my own, it's because I've researched it before. As I said before, it took 6 months of research before I got to that point. I am very lucky because I belong to organizations in which all my girlfriends are attorneys or all members. So I listen to them about, they're like, you can do that yourself, girl. You can smart enough to do this. But if you do not want to take that on, I mean, that's why I broke these things down into the legal aspect, the financial aspect. It is important that you have either you yourself or you know someone with the legal and accounting abilities to handle your business affairs. So if you're not willing to do the research yourself and you say, well, I'm willing to pay $500 to get this done, then pay the $500. It doesn't make you any less of a person because you didn't do it so-and-so's way or whatever way. But make sure you do the research about those people that you're hiring also. If you're starting your business, make sure that you know that this person has literally done this before and they know exactly what they're doing for a nurse business. You know what I'm saying? So it's always, you're still going to be doing some research, whether you're hiring someone yourself to do it for you or you're doing it yourself. And I said legal, so lawyer, accountant, and you may even have someone that does your social media platforms for you. If that's not something that you want to do, then there's someone for that also. And marketing, making sure you're getting your name out there. So the marketing and branding for your company. So all those things are important. Well, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. How do you intentionally incorporate spiritual discernment or decision making into your career, and how you chose to do the things you did?
So the professional correct answer is when I take on ideas, thoughts, I spend quiet time with myself, making sure that I pray about it. I'm intentional in what I do. So the non-professional side is, I know that there's a calling on my life to do certain things, and I listen to that calling, and I don't take it lightly. And I will tell anyone, Gift of Dreams came to me in a dream. I woke up with that name in 2003 or 4. But before I made it to divinity school, it took a number of years. It took some preparing. It took me finally to say yes instead of no, I don't think that's for me because I don't want to go back to school anymore. So even though the calling was there on my life, it didn't mean that I wanted to do it. I had other plans for my life. But having that spirituality and being grounded in knowing that there's a higher calling, knowing that when even when I was getting on call at the hospital and leaving my bed in the middle of the night, I finally had to accept that no matter how much I hated it, when I got to the other end, the person that was there was always something that I needed to share with them to help them move to another place. Now, I will tell you, I had a rule in my head. If I come to the hospital at 2 o'clock, somebody getting hospitalized. That was all it was. I knew that there was something that I needed to share with them, and I needed to hear. And only my spirituality connecting with their spirit could get it said and done. And I have never had a patient, and I've had quite a few that have come back after I hospitalized them because they were going to the hospital. No matter what they said, they were about to be hospitalized. But it took some talking to them and some understanding of what was going on with them. So I say for anyone who is determining that, it goes back to the professional answer is also, it goes back to what I said, as nurses, we provide holistic care. That's the mental, the physical, and the spiritual. And there's no way for me to get around that. I mean, someone said, I'm going to come hear you preach. I laugh about that because that's one of the things that I run from. I said, I'll stand up and speak, but I don't preach. But when you know that there's, oh Lord, he's laughing. But when you know that there's a God-given talent within you, you can't run from it. You can't. Right. I think there was a question over. Yes, ma'am.
How can I get access to the PowerPoint slide?
Oh, that's a good question because I hadn't thought about sharing these PowerPoint slides.
Or okay,
no,
can you please share your PowerPoint?
Who just said that was posted?
They normally post the things, right? Yeah, they post the BBB. You could probably email it to her.
Yeah. See, Miss Wilvina, she will be handling that portion of that. She already has them. Yeah, she already has them. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. Hi, what's your name? Curry. Hi, Curry.
Thanks for sharing all this.
You're welcome.
How old is the business, and do you have a partner with you, or are you solo?
Your dreams is totally mine. I'm sorry. Do I need a psych NP? I need a psych NP. So Gift of Dreams is totally mine. Like I said, the idea for Gift of Dreams was formulated back in 2003, 2004. In 2015 is when I started the business itself. And it is continuing to grow. The specialty with pastoral care did not start at that time. That's only happened in the past year and a half as more and more ministers and people in ministry started coming to see me. I realized there's a need. So I had that up, knowing the needs of your community. Who's coming to see you? Just like I said with dealing with women with mood disorders, knowing what the needs are and being willing to fulfill those needs. Yeah. I do not need an FNP, but like I said, I'm always open to some psych NPs.
I can make you a second.
The dual certification never got happy.
Right. For the lactation business, at first I did and I realized I hated it, and I'm not a business person. So after I took my break to have a kid, I came back and merged with two of my friends, and one of the nurses is really good at business stuff, and very pizza oriented, and we're like, we will pay you 10% to take care of all that stuff for us.
Right.
So that we can just do our job.
And I just want to add, like I said, when you say solo, one of my closest friends who's actually also in the commission corps with me, she is a social worker and she started her own business. And so what she does is refer patients to me because I do medication management. Children, I refer to her. We have regular meetings. I will actually be seeing her on Sunday where we sit down and debrief and talk about our businesses, growth patterns, what we need to look at, any certification. She also does mediation and some other things that I don't do. So although Gift of Dreams is solo, I do not work in silos, and I make sure that I tell people that. And so I hope that answered your question. All right. Thank you.
So we are all out of time. So as a thank you.
I was very curious about going to Instagram and Facebook and following us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So that's the website. If you need to get in touch with me, I'm on LinkedIn, Mekeshia Bates.
But you're not accepting people to connect with you.
I'm not.
It
It says what?
just says in mail. It's not an option to connect with.
Oh, well, we gotta look into that because I just accepted some people just yesterday. So look into that. Okay. We'll talk about that. Yeah, but please.
Already trying to connect.
Yeah, connect. You guys know the website. You know how to get in touch with me. And like I said, I do respond to all emails and stuff. So thank you very much.
So before everybody goes, Dr. Bates, as a thank you, I'd like to present you with a little gift from Frontier.
Thank you, guys.